Servus and welcome to another episode of Pro Hockey Pod, episode 51. This week, the captain is here, Denis Reul from the other Mannheim. I'm very excited to have him on. Kind of funny, actually, where Denis is from. I actually worked there for the past 2 years, just a little bit outside town over Mark Redovitz. I worked in Selb. So, I mean, this guy's had a long career here in the DL, captain of the other right now, as I mentioned, played for Germany on multiple occasions. Also had a stop in North America, was drafted. I mean, the resume goes on. So happy to kind of pick his brain. Um, Hopefully he's not too nervous to do this in English. He said it might be a record for the quickest episode ever, so we'll see. Welcome to the Pro Hockey Pod, Denis Reul.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me. We're gonna have a good time, I think.
I think so too. It's always good to go down memory lane. I always tell people that. Sometimes we do these podcasts and there's things that you revisit again in your head or things you forget and kind of go through again, and it's cool to kind of go through your career. But we always go back to the beginning. So as I said, you were born, I believe, in Mark Redowitz, Bavaria, Germany, right close to Selb, as I said. What's the earliest memory you have from your childhood there?
Oh Jesus. My earliest memory. Uh, I'm not even sure, but the memories that uh, I remember the most are the memories when I stepped on the ice for the first time. I was 6 years old, so I think those always stick with you.
And what's I'm always curious because obviously as people know, Germany ice hockey isn't the first sport. Everyone, plays football or as soccer as we say in North America. I know it's the wrong word, but like kind of what attracted you to the sport of hockey?
Well, like you said, I started out with soccer like everyone else, but then in my school, um, someone that worked there, their son was playing and they saw me and I was very athletic. So they were like, hey, try hockey, might be good. And I tried it. I stuck with it. I quit soccer eventually and I'm still here.
Were you always a defenseman, or you're a bigger guy, so I wonder if maybe they tried to put you between the pipes, cover more net.
No, like, but I was a forward like everyone, I guess, growing up at first. And I was actually pretty average or small growing up. So
Then the growth spurt came later.
yeah.
No, that's cool. So I'm guessing then kind of your minor hockey path or your Nachwuchs path, as we say in German, growing up, was it in Selden? Seld was the closest ice hockey organization.
Well, there wasn't many, and it was definitely the closest. And from the ones that were in the area, it was the biggest one. And yeah, like I was there the whole time until I went to Mannheim to join the junior team.
Hmm. And back then, I'm just trying to remember how the Seld minor hockey worked. Like we're because in Canada, like I always tell us we have three levels of minor hockey. So AAA is like as you would say here, like the DNL1 for the U20s, and then double A is like DNL2, whatever. Like, Sel, were they a higher division in the minor hockey when you were growing up there playing, or were they always like a second or third division? Do you remember?
We were always one of the lower ones.
Okay. But not a lot of, I mean, when I was there was a lot of kids playing. Like the younger teams had a good amount of kids, which I think is good for that small town and that area. Obviously, as you know, the Czech border is pretty close, so they end up getting some guys from the Czech Republic as well. Um, what made you make the move to Mannheim to join the Young Adler, so the minor hockey team there in Mannheim?
What made me the move? Well, I was, without wanting to sound cocky, I was always one of the better kids there playing, and I always had big goals. And at some point, like when you want to hit those goals, like you hit a wall there, or like that's at least how it was back then. Like, and I just wanted to make a transition to a program where I can evolve more. And at that time, Mannheim was for sure the best. So I went for a tryout and got in.
And as you mentioned, they were one of the best back then. Like, is it still like back then, whenever this was, 15 years ago, were they still one of the top like minor hockey programs that could offer things that maybe others couldn't in terms of like facilities, training, coaches, kind of like what they pride themselves on now?
Yeah, for sure. That's how it was. Like they had the most of everything, and school was always a huge part there too. That was important for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but like they had a lot of history and success there, and for me, it just felt like it was the place where I could develop the most.
And how old were you when you moved there?
I was like 15 or 16, something like that.
And did you like did your family stay then in Markovitz and you moved alone?
They stayed at home, and I moved to like a boarding house, and we almost everybody lived together there.
How was it living on your own for the first time?
Well, at first it's hard, but I mean, it's something you really want to do. Like, no one forced me to do it, so I wanted to do it. I wanted to be there, so it gets easier over the time, and yeah, you just start taking care of yourself earlier. Like obviously, like someone prepped a meal for us or cooked for us, but like you had to clean your room yourself, like, and like no one was doing anything for you, or like do your laundry or this and that, and like you had to make sure you're on time for everything. Like, and I think it's good for life. It's a good lesson.
Yeah, for sure. I think the quicker you can learn to live on your own and kind of be independent from, your parents or whatever it is, the better you are later in life. Obviously, it helped you down the road too when you went to North America. But before we get there, you end up playing for the Young Adler, as you mentioned, and then you end up playing some games pro at, I believe, 16 years old, playing for the Hellbrunner Falcon. They were playing in the third league back then. How was that transition for you? Like being I say a very young guy, 16 is still very young, 16, 17, making the transition, sorry, to pro hockey.
I believe I was 17, and yeah, obviously it's a lot different. All of a sudden you play with men, like it's the game just changes. Like it's the people are stronger you play against, and they're obviously smarter. They the like the tactical side is a lot better. Like it helps you kind of like evolve more again. Like even at your junior stage, like you learn different aspects, and it was fortunately for me, it was pretty easy to go there because a lot of our uh, junior players used to go there like for 1 year after they were done with the
Mhm.
junior program.
One more question about the junior program before we move on. I didn't look up your roster that year, but was there any guys like yourself that have gone on to have long pro careers, whether it's in Germany or North America, that you played with in those years?
Yeah, like David Wolf is one of them, Matthias Plachter, um, Jerome Flake, Felix Bergman, Frankie Maurer. I don't know. Like, there's so many.
Yeah, but it just kind of shows like how good, like even back then, the development was of the for the young Adler. Like players would go there, like yourself, move away from home and go there and believe, if I put in a couple of years here, it's going to help me get to the next level, whether that's the DEL or North America, as I mentioned. One thing I think is really special, maybe something you never dreamed of. I don't know how it was for you if you felt during the season before that you had a lot of interest, but you end up getting drafted in the NHL. Um, as German, I would say that's a pretty good accomplishment. As I mentioned, German hockey back then has since then has come a long way. When you were going through that season, were you talking to any scouts or anything? Did you have any idea you were going to get drafted, or was it just a big surprise for you?
No, like there were scouts there. Like I had some meetings. I was actually at the combine and stuff like that. So I knew I was gonna get drafted, and just didn't know when. And
Yeah.
I was obviously pretty pumped when it actually happened.
Did you expect Boston? Like, were they one of the teams you had in mind that you could see going to, or was it that one kind of a shock?
To be honest, like I didn't really care,
Yeah.
so I didn't really think about it. For me, it was just I just wanted to get drafted somewhere and then see what happens.
You were actually at the actual draft then?
I was there, yeah. I
Where
was there.
where was your draft?
Uh, Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did your parents go as well?
My dad went with me.
That must have been a special moment for him, seeing his son get drafted.
Yeah, it was like he was excited. It was a good time. Like my agent flew me out and like I was there with some other players from him and yeah, we just had like a good couple of days there, so it was fun.
Heard Columbus is a good town too. City, I should say. And how was it? So right after that, normally what happens is you go right to like the kind of development camp or rookie camp, whatever it's called. Like, how was your first experience of the NHL development camp, rookie camp?
Well, it was obviously it was something special. Like I'm really nervous, like with all those guys and yeah, just it was something like you dreamed about, and all of a sudden, and you're there, like at their facility. You were working out at their facility, like you working with those coaches there, and like all those other great players, like that actually made it to the NHL by now. So
Hmm.
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's always a cool experience. One thing I think is kind of unique about you is you end up getting drafted twice in 1 year, once to the NHL and once to the QMJHL in the nice import draft. Um, Growing up, like it's I think it's come a long way now. I think that route was more popular than the college route. But when you had gotten drafted to Boston, had they said anything to you? Maybe, hey, we think it'd be good if you would go play in the QMJHL, or we think you should go back to Germany and play in the DL. Like, was there any kind of guidance given there?
The plan for me was, regardless of the draft, to always go to like one of the junior leagues
Mhm.
there. Like, and so that never changed. And so they didn't say anything. They knew that was the plan, and I guess they agreed. So
Well, I mean, you were taken the import draft. It's obviously shorter than the 15 round normal draft, but you were taken the first round by Lewiston, so there obviously was a plan for you to go there and play right away. Was that hard for you moving to? Not only are you moving to North America, you're also moving to a province, as we say in English, where there's two languages, and it really depends what city you're in. English is one, and then the other one is French. So was how was that transition for you?
well, like before with moving to Mannheim, it's the same thing. Like I really wanted to do it. So like, but I mean, it's, as it is with everything, like it's something new. It's something special. It's exciting. It's kind of hard at first, but then it gets easier. Like they all feel you, like welcome you with open arms. And like lucky for me was that my team was based in the States,
Hmm.
so everybody spoke English, which was good for me, and that probably made it a lot easier.
And how did you find the transition of the game? So obviously the European game, there's a bigger ice, so guys like have more room, they can skate uh, a little bit better, and then you go to the QMJHL where it's obviously NHL size, really small. Um, Someone like yourself who's a physical player, I think that could have benefited you at times. But did you feel any kind of shock or big transition in terms of like playing on the smaller ice?
Shock, not so much, because with the under, I don't know, under 17s, under 18s, we actually weren't went to some tournaments
Hmm.
uh in North America, so we played on the small ice, and even with Mannheim, we played at the Drum and Bowl tournament like once or twice in my time there. So I knew what to expect, and but obviously the game gets a lot faster on the small ice. It gets a lot rougher, but I don't know, I enjoyed it.
I wonder if we were at the Quebec, the Drummondville tournament at the same time, because me and you are 1 year apart, and I'm really curious if not, we might not have played each other, but I wonder because someone else I had on was talking about a famous tournament there, and I told them it was in Drummondville, and they were telling me I was wrong, but now you've confirmed that I was right. You went there twice. That's a cool rink too, by the way. It's really old school,
Yeah.
old fashioned. You mentioned, playing internationally too there, like with some experience with the U18 team, U17 team as well, but you also played the famous World Juniors. This is a tournament in Canada. I have to say, it's like when Christmas happens, it's Christmas and World Juniors. That's the two things that go hand in hand. I believe your tournament was Ottawa.
Yes.
Just talk about that experience playing that tournament. It's very high end tournament. Tons of television coverage. For all those countries, I'm sure it's a fun time. I know that unfortunately you guys got relegated in the end, I believe, or you were in the relegation. I saw it was you in Kazakhstan, I think.
We were in the relegation round, but I don't think we got relegated. I'm not sure.
Wikipedia, you guys let me down because I was really trying to look for that, and it said that there was two relegations that year, and I thought that was kind of weird. But anyways, how was the experience in Ottawa? Playing games. I believe both were one was in the 67s rink, and I think the other one was the Senators rink, if I remember correctly. So the OHL and NHL.
Well, well, first of all, it was a great experience. I mean, it's a hockey town, a hockey country, like World Juniors, like one of the biggest events there every year. It was really fun to play, and the regular round we played in the Senators rink,
Hmm.
and then the relegation round or whatever we played in the other rink there.
Did you guys play Canada?
We played Canada. We lost, and I got kicked out.
Oh, what'd you do?
I ran someone.
Doesn't sound like you. Um, no, but that was part, like to be honest, that was part of the Canada stretch there. I think they won 5-5 or 4-5. Like that was when I think that year they had like Cody Hodge and Tavares, if I remember correctly. That was when Everly scored that famous goal. I think that the Russia one, but I remember this more than you probably. But
Yeah.
this is part of my history, so don't worry about it. But no, cool experience on the nonetheless. I think it's obviously anytime you can represent your country at whatever tournament level it is, it's obviously a tremendous honor. Um, what made you after your 2 years there in Lewiston, you obviously we talked this off camera last week, but you end up going to Province, I believe, there in the AHL for a couple weeks. How was that kind of experience? And eventually you end up going back to Germany. So I'm just kind of curious what made you go back to Germany after your stint there.
Well, I mean, I played 2 years in Lewiston. The first year was great. Like we had a lot of fun. We had success. The second year we were very young. We didn't have much success. Uh, didn't have a very good year. Had like a nagging injury. Like we couldn't really figure out what it was from. I don't know. Like then I went to Providence. Had a couple games there. Wasn't quite ready yet for it. At that time, they had a couple great players on D. So the question was what to do next, and I chose to come back to Germany, and I wanted it to be for a little bit. Ended up being a long time, so but I'm still happy with it.
Wanted to be just for maybe a year or two, and he hasn't left. So
Yeah.
no, that's cool. And obviously you end up I think it's still awesome that, whether it worked out or not for whatever reason, you still got to experience the North American pro game a little bit. I think that's obviously something to be proud of. And as you mentioned, you came back to Germany, signed with Mannheim there, one of the I'd say most historic organizations in the DL and German hockey. When you think of their history and just success over the years, again, still a young guy. I mean, I believe you were 20, 21 years old around that time, maybe 20,
20.
20. Yeah. How was that transition for you? We can say this. I think it's when you were coming into the league at that time, being 20 years old, there was still the kind of old school mentality with young guys and just kind of earning your stripes, where now it's a little bit more forgiving, I would say. So how was your transition?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was always a likable guy, so it wasn't too bad. No, like I don't know. They welcomed me. I worked hard every day. They respected it. I wasn't pain in the ass in practice every day, and I actually appreciated it. So that's how I found my way in the lineup eventually.
Kind of the way you want to get in the lineup for your hard work and pain in the ass mentality. And I've never seen somebody block more shots in my life than you. You would just eat them and it doesn't even phase you. I'd be on the IR. But Mannheim itself, as I mentioned, they're a very historic team. And one thing I think that's been cool for you throughout your career, you've been able to win a couple championships with Mannheim. the 14-15 season and 18-19 season, sorry. When you think of those 2 years and winning, is there anything that sticks out to you that maybe happened during the season or guys in the room felt that, this is our year, or is it just, you know, kind of happened and
I feel like if you have a championship team, like, and you can feel it like right away, even in preseason or after the preseason. It's just the way everybody carries himself, the way they treat each other, the way you work on the ice, and just the whole attitude around the room. Like you can kind of feel it. It has a certain feeling. I don't know how to describe it. You just kind of know like this is gonna be a great year. Like you obviously you don't know if you're gonna end up winning it all, but you can feel that if this goes somewhat right, that you're gonna be right there. And in the end, we won it both times.
someone that's never won anything. I've had a lot of final losses, so I know the other side of it. Must have been just a tremendous feeling. Obviously, I've seen the pictures in the offices of you guys celebrating some of these championships, and everybody's on the ice and champagne, beer everywhere. But of the two championship you won, does one of them stick out more than the other, or are they all equal to you?
I feel like the first is always the most special, and we won it on the road, so it was kind of nice to be just with the guys on the way back,
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy it before you come to the rink, like in the middle of, we came there at the middle of the night, I don't even know, and like the half the rink was full with people waiting for us, and that was unreal. But for me, it was just the time, like on the bus
Yeah.
or like traveling back with the boys, and just enjoying like what you just accomplished together.
Yeah, with the people that, as you said, did it, then they played the game. So that's obviously, yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Definitely a good way to look at it. Another thing that's been pretty cool about your career is you've worn a letter on multiple occasions, and obviously here in Mannheim, you've been the captain here as well. And I'm curious, what do you think as a captain makes a good leader?
It's different. Everybody leads different. I feel like and you don't even need a letter to be a good leader. You just first of all, you need to lead by example. That's the biggest one. Like you can't talk and tell people what to do or how to carry themselves if you don't live it yourself. Like maybe it works for like a little bit, but it's like they catch on, and then it's done. Like no one listens to you anymore. So for me, the most important thing is to just lead by example, and just be yourself. Like don't try to be someone else. Like people catch on to that too.
Another thing I'm always curious about, like, had you ever like envisioned yourself as a captain? Because some guys growing up, like they're like, yeah, one day I want to be the captain, or I could see myself being a captain, and other guys it's kind of presented to them by a coach, and then they just kind of have to step up in the role. Like, were you always in the back of your mind, you could see yourself being a captain one day?
I was captain in like Germany in the juniors, but I don't know. Like once I feel like once you turn pro, you don't really think about it. You just put in the work, and try to be a good human being, and like a good teammate, and like eventually you try to become a good leader, and then once you accomplish that, then like maybe sometimes you get a letter stuck on you or not, or like you turn as the captain. But like even if you never the captain, at some point you're required to be a leader. Like and that's always for me. And then yeah, like it's nice to carry it. I'm very proud to carry the letter, and it's means a lot to me. But at the end of the day, like even without it, I would be the same.
No, it's good. You made good points about just you don't have to have a letter to be a leader, and just because also you mentioned before, like just because you get it, you don't have to fake it either. Like you need to be the same all the time, and That's very true because character is a big thing. I'm wondering, had anyone ever like kind of mentored you a bit? Like obviously, as I mentioned, you've been in Mannheim for your whole DL career here, had other captains that you played for, and then eventually you end up getting the C. Like, had you kind of had anyone like take you aside and give you any pointers or mentor you a little bit, or was it just kind of you took it naturally?
But no one was like, "Hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that," or but like, I mean, you have captains throughout your career, and you or like leaders, and like you learn something from everyone by watching and absorbing. And I had great captains in my career, like being in Mannheim or like on the national team, and you just take something from everyone. But like I said, like doesn't change who you are, so you got to stay true to yourself. Like I could never be Marcus King or Marcel Gotch or like whoever you want to pick, like or Ben Smith. Like I'm me, so like I got to be me to stay authentic.
No, I respect that. It's 100% true. Um, as I mentioned, you've been here your whole DL career. As of recording this before our game tomorrow, you have played 647 games and counting, according to Elite Prospects. How does it feel playing so many games for one franchise?
Well, it's great. It's unreal. It's a great honor, and yeah, like I don't know what to say. Like it's just awesome. And then like I mean, it's my home too. By now, like it's my home, so it's great to play for your home, like like for the team in your home, like in your hometown and or whatever. Like even though I live a little bit outside by now, but it's like man, I'm still my home by now. I've been living there like longer than anywhere else. So it's like it's unreal to just like have that many games there.
It's pretty tremendous, to be honest, because there's not many hockey players that can say I played every year in the same place. Like, because obviously there's many things that go into it, whether it's a trade, whether it's a contract somewhere else. So pretty cool to see that you've played so many games for the Adler here. One other thing you've been able to do for the Adler, or just the Adler being, always a pretty good team in the league every year, is you've played a lot of Champions Hockey League. I believe you've played it 7 times here in Mannheim. For those listening, it's basically a tournament where it starts at the start of the season, and if you continue to win, it goes all the way until January, and you're playing against, all the best from all the other countries in the world. Some leagues have one team in it. Some leagues can have two, three. I think some leagues have four, but maybe three is the max. But um, that's always another cool thing to do. Is there any of the Champions League years that maybe stick out to you or places you've been that you thought, hey, this is really cool that we get to play a game here?
There's nothing that really sticks out. Like I always liked playing it. It's different. It's like I don't want to call it preseason, but like it's you're competitive before your actually season starts, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I really like about it. Like it's not you don't see the same old teams all the time. Like if you don't have that or whatever, then you probably go play a tournament and play the same teams you play all year. Like it's I don't know, it's kind of boring at times, and I actually like playing teams from other countries because the style is different, and you can learn a lot from there too, or like learn to adapt to different things.
Mm-hmm. I should know this, but I didn't do this in the research. What's the farthest you guys have been in the Champions League?
I don't even know. I think maybe quarters, and then we had Corona, and we went with 10 people to play in Sweden. That was not the best.
It's not the best to go with a short lineup to a league that skates like the best skating country.
Yeah, like yeah, we barely got a team together, and like I think a lot of guys were like junior players, so
Jeez,
that was not fun.
it's crazy that they still made you guys play, but guess you gotta get those games in. I mentioned before too, like, and you mentioned it as well. You played the German national team, whether it was U17, U18, U20, and then you've also played internationally a lot. Doing my research, there was a stretch of where you played 10 years in a row. So World Championships normally happens after the DL season, and the NHL season is basically they're in around the second round of playoffs at some point there. But 10 years in a row is a long time to do it. I'm curious, like how did you have the extra motivation or energy to do that after playing, a 52, 56 game season, then maybe playing 15 games in the playoffs and you still want to go play more hockey when it could be like, some downtime for you?
Because it's a national team, and I was always proud to play there. It still would be, and if I'm healthy and I feel good enough, why would I say no?
Hmm.
Like I don't know if there's no real reason to say no. Like maybe something happened at home or whatever, then I don't see like
Yeah.
I would never say no.
No, it's I figured that from you, like knowing you. And I tell that to anyone else too, like where you're from, if you can ever play for your country, it's take advantage of it because eventually it does end one day, whether it's you getting older or hockey's done, whatever. So happy with that, but 10 years in a row, man, like that's a pretty good streak, I'd have to say. And there was 1 year with a break in between, and you had like 4 years before that too. So that could have been a 15-year streak without that break. But
Yeah, well, like in the end, a couple injuries
yeah,
cut it short. Like I missed both Olympics because of it, and was very devastating.
okay, I don't mean to bring up a bad memory there, but I had seen your history of playing world championships, and then in my head I was like, why didn't he ever get the Olympics? So you were injured both times.
Yeah, like the second time I was banged up pretty good, so choice went somewhere else, even though I already had all the clothes at home. And the first time, even the ticket was booked for me and everything, and then I ended up having like two ankle surgeries within I don't know 2.5 weeks, and then another one in the summer. So like that was it for that one too. And then they ended up winning silver, which was very very tough.
So it was that year. Was it, you might not know this, but Holtzy brought up on his podcast episode that there was 1 year where he was kind of a late ad and like he showed up and like all the stuff had someone else's name, like even the plane ticket. And now you're telling me that story. I was like wondering, was that you maybe?
No, it wasn't him. Wasn't him.
That would have been really funny. Um, all right. Uh, Transitioning kind of away from hockey. What other hobbies do you have outside of hockey? Like what else do you like to do?
Yeah. Well, I like to read. I don't know. Like sometimes I like to game. Uh, I don't know. Like I do stuff around the house. I don't know. Go for walks. Like if I feel good enough, I go for a hike or bike a little. Um, yeah, it's just like regular stuff. Or like I do something with friends.
English or German books?
Both.
Both. God, I don't think I could read in German like a book, but and a little bit of a gamer. So what games are you into?
Well, like pretty much everything to be honest, besides except sports games. Like I used to play a lot of Call of Duty in my time. Not anymore. Like I just don't feel like competing anymore on the internet. Like I'm that's just the casual right now. Like I play strategy games or like whatever.
Don't want to hop on COD against the old 13-year-olds like me, Murray, and Gildan and Gods do, and lose and rage.
Yeah, I know that time is over.
That time's over. Maybe I should
I
grow
used to
up.
be one of those 13-year-olds.
Yeah, that was me too. Maybe I should get the hint and grow up here, but I still enjoy it even though it frustrates me. Broke a few tables in my day with my fist. Ask my wife. That's another story. How long do you plan on playing for? That's always a question I like to ask people because I think it's not a simple question. It's not like I'm playing one more year for the most part, but it's like, is it something as long as you can play, you'll play, or if you find a career outside of hockey after that makes sense, then you would stop, or like, obviously you have a wife, like is it stuff like that, or
Well, I right now I think I still have like 1 or 2 more good years of hockey in me, and so I plan on doing those, and then maybe I feel I can play another one after. I don't know. But right now, I just take one step after another. I want to have a really good year this year, like the next year, and then we'll see like how I feel and how it is. And then eventually I'm gonna make the transition out of pro hockey probably.
And then the plan's gonna happen. The plan we talked about off camera with the late season edition, maybe,
Yeah.
the smart way. So you mentioned the transition after hockey. Have you thought about what you would like to do whenever you stop playing?
Yeah, like I have a couple things I could do, I kind of want to do, maybe, but like it's for me it's not set yet because right now I still plan on playing
Hmm.
another year or two. So and before I actually decide I'm gonna retire, I don't really want to talk about it too much, to be honest.
No, that's fair. I like to ask people because some people are big planners where they need to know what's happening next, or what you mentioned. It seems like you want to just fully stay engaged in this door, and then when that door finally closes, the next one will open. So I respect that. It's definitely a few things I could see you doing. So we'll see if I'm right on those. I won't say them on camera, but all right, man. Two more for you. You were right. This has been the speediest episode ever, which is good because the episode last week was pretty long, so it's going to even out now. But when you look back at your career, did you think you would have the career you've had?
Ah, that's hard. It's hard to say. Like I don't know, you're a kid growing up, then you think, yeah, I'm gonna be pro, but then obviously you don't know where you're gonna end up, and then you start turning pro, then you play like 20 years old for Mannheim, and you're like, you're just happy to be there. Like I don't think you think about, well, what's my kind of career gonna be like when I'm 34, 35? Like you don't even worry about that stuff. So I don't know. I never thought about it. Like this is where I could end up, or this is where I should be. Like
Hmm.
I just I just try to live in the moment, I guess.
That's very interesting because obviously, like for people like myself growing up in Canada, like our dream is obviously the NHL. We make up every scenario in our head. And I was curious for someone like yourself that got into hockey, if if it was the same, the NHL, or if it was playing the DL. Like,
Well, obviously it's the NHL for everyone.
yeah,
Like it's the most famous league. Everybody knows it. It's the league where the game comes from. Like so it's like if you play video games as a kid, you played NHL like I don't know 95 or whatever. Like there was no DL or Swedish league or whatever in there, so it was the NHL. So that's obviously like you wanted to be in that game, right? So
you got in the game though. That's for sure. One thing that bugged me about that game was because of the like jersey rights, the German teams they could never put the real jerseys in. Like they just had like a generic like Mannheim home navy with red and like they never had the actual cool ones with the sponsors for years, and that used to piss me off. Same with the international ones. Like Germany has some really nice international jerseys, I think, and like online it just has like a generic flag across the front and like just the colors, so that always pissed me off. But maybe EA will figure it out. But last one here for you. I ask all my guests this. This is a good one to end on, I feel like. What is one piece of advice or multiple piece of advice you would give the younger generation? So if there was some young listeners out there, 15, 16, 17 years old, what one piece or multiple piece of advice would you give them?
earn your spot. Don't expect a spot. You got to earn it, and that's that's actually like the most important thing I can give the younger generation. Like don't pout if you're not where you're supposed to be. Like you have to earn it every day, and you have to live by it, and eventually like you're gonna get that spot, and everything takes care of itself if you work on it.
Short and sweet, man. True words there. Yeah. Earn your spot. As you know, I think sometimes in the younger generations that's sometimes forgotten. They think they should be given things before they earn it. And you just brought them back to earth and reminded them that you have to earn everything you get. And you're right. When you put in the work, everything will take care of themselves. So, Dennis, I appreciate you doing the podcast with me. As I mentioned, I know you were a little nervous before, especially when you saw that it was on camera too, but we got through it. Appreciate you taking the time, man. Again, congrats on the career you've had so far, a long, tremendous career, and hopefully it keeps going for a couple of years, and then we'll see what the real world brings you.
Thank you.
And for those listening, give us a follow if you haven't already. Every week, these episodes come out on Tuesday. Appreciate you guys listening. Until next week, cheers and ciao.